Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is To Back or Not to Back, and we are back, although don't get excited because looking at next week and the next week and the week after that, I don't know what I'm going to do for this series. We'll figure it out. There'll always be something here on Mondays. I just don't know what that thing will be. And starting us off the bat, if you can go ahead and head on over to this video over here, this Shelf for a Sell from Quackalope, I'll throw a link in the description down below. And here's what I want, okay? This is completely unrelated to anything going on. I just find this amusing. Over on that video, they said they're getting rid of Game of Thrones Catan. And then they're like, unless maybe if people really want to see gameplay of it, and they seem super skeptical. So I want to mess with them because there's nowhere on earth either one of them is watching this video. So if you can head on over to that link and just say something along the lines of, oh, would love to see gameplay of Game of Thrones Catan, some variation of that. Don't say I sent you. I just want to see Quackalope be so confused when he has like 100 people who apparently really want a gameplay video of Game of Thrones Catan. That's it. I'm just bored and thought that would be funny. Starting off the bat, we're going to have a few things. We're going to have board game adjacent. We're going to have things not funding, unfortunately. We're going to have various updates from prior weeks. And then, of course, all the new campaigns. Everything will be timestamped as usual in the bar thingy down below. And starting off the bat, we have the Man vs. Meeple Season 4 Kickstarter. This thing is going to have a whole bunch of promos if you're interested in any of these. Either if you appreciate what Man vs. Meeple does, if you appreciate the videos, all the content they bring to the general space, between their Kickstarter coverage, between a lot of Jeremy's solo Sundays, reviews, all those things, Jeremy Howard, all the stuff he does there, or their chit-chats, or any of the content that they do. If you appreciate what they do, then you can go ahead and back over here, or, and bear with me here, even if you don't particularly appreciate, or you appreciate but wouldn't otherwise pay, if you're just interested in various promo cards, there's a whole bunch over here. You can pay $25 and pick 3 promos, or you can just pay $60 and get everything. And speaking for myself, and then they have a bunch of game bundles too. If you want specific game bundles, they have a variety of options where you can get certain game bundles for certain games. Some of them are going quickly, so check them out. I know they're adding things as time goes on, so check those out. There's nothing to do with holding its value or any of that. This is just if you want some stuff. And looking at some of these over here, I was at first looking at the pick 3 promo cards. The problem is, speaking for myself, I want 5. And then once you want 5, I can spend $50 to get 6, or I can spend $60 to get them all. Honestly, I don't know what's a better deal there because I'm not going to go through the work of selling them. So it might actually be better for me to spend $50 and just get 6 of them. But we'll see. Either way, looking at what I want over here, I want the Endless Winter one. I want the Endless Winter one because I like that Man vs. Monolith concept over there. I like the Batoku ones as well. That's lower on my list because I haven't actually played Batoku yet, but that's one where I'm happy if I get all of them. Corrosion I haven't played yet. Vindication, I want everything, always. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition is an interesting one. I like promo cards there. My own personal bias towards, or more specifically against, promo cards when they have, like, you know, people or channels on them is I don't like it when it's obvious. I want it to be really intertwined in the world. So, for example, even if I get and like 11, I wouldn't want this set here. This set is way too obviously Man vs. Meeple. I don't mind the people in the game, I just want it more obfuscated, more disguised, similar to what's going on with these Vindication cards, where you have Jeremy and, well, David over here in these cards, but not as obviously there. You have to know it's not sticking out. This one over here, this Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition one, is an interesting one because it's called Orbital Outpost MVM. So, for example, we have this Man vs. Monolith where that slightly disguises it. Obviously, it's a board game tribute, but it's not necessarily Man vs. Meeple tribute, so I like that kind of way it layers in. The MVM, because it doesn't say Man vs. Meeple, I can get behind that, but my point is, I kind of still want that one. Ares Expedition, Endless Winter, and Vindication, I'm already at 3. The problem is, I still want more. I don't care about some of these. Some of these games I don't have, or some of them I will be getting, but I haven't played yet. The Hero Realms one with Jeremy is nice, but I don't have Hero Realms. Hadrian's Wall might be great. It's one of those ones that I'm happy I'm getting if I get them all, but I haven't actually played Hadrian's Wall, so I don't know how much I need them. The Airland and Secrets at War, I don't yet know what they're actually doing on this one, so I might want this one, but I don't know what this promo actually consists of. Mosaic is a game that I adore, and so I don't know what they are here, but if it's 5 more technology cards, I definitely want those. That's putting me at a solid 4 with a giant question mark at Critters at War. And then Lost Ruins of Arnak puts me at 5. That's the 5th one I want, a little alley coin. You see, again, it has that tribute as Alley from Man vs. Meeple, but it's not obviously in your face. It's a little alley coin than an ability. I like the way that's layered in. As opposed to Chronicles of Crime, even though this artwork is great, having the 4 of them in your face like that feels a bit out of place to me. And again, that's my own personal preference, but that's basically it. A little too long spent on this. Overall, as far as holding its value, I generally don't recommend Kickstarter stuff as far as holding it. I don't recommend promo stuff as far as holding its value. Usually it's a lot more work to sell them or deal with them, although sometimes you will have those outliers. Like you might have this entire bundle and suddenly the Lost Ruins of Arnak promo might be expensive and hard to track down. So sometimes they do well hold their value, but often it's a bit of a guessing game as to what, and you often have to go through a lot of work to get them. Usually I recommend them if you're interested, and then it happens to be sometimes they'll hold their value. But that's the Man vs. Meeple Kickstarter over here. Next up we have Sammu-Ramat Derrocar over on GameFound. This is from Iron Game Design, and this is from, well, this is their newest game. It's a bundle of 2 games, one of which looks, well, they both look thematically interesting to me, although personally speaking for myself, I'm very interested in Sammu-Ramat, and not as much in Derrocar, which is interesting because I would have thought the reverse when I first heard about these, because Derrocar is a far more intriguing theme. Derrocar, the theme of Derrocar, is basically the idea of the 5 Presidents Week in Argentina. This is an actual historical event in which they basically had transitions of power so many times that they had 5 presidents in a single week, and this is a game playing around that. It's a competitive and or solo game playing around those events and trying to deal with that. Thematically sounds really interesting. Gameplay I don't have a good enough feel on to know where I'm at. Oh, by the way, I should have transitioned. Now we're in the not funding category as of right now, although it could be by the time you're watching this will fund, and this likely will fund, but right now it's at $8,351 out of a $10,000 goal. So this is from Iron Game Design, like I said already. And then we have Sammu-Ramat, which has me far more interested. Sammu-Ramat is a cooperative and or solo game in which you play as Sammu-Ramat. I'm hopefully pronouncing that right. I don't know if I am. She's a famous leader who you're basically playing as her advisors and or herself as you go through different challenges she's facing. So it's a cooperative game about the female leader in the Syrian Empire, but you're basically going to be choosing your advisors. You count as your own advisor. You can pick yourself, and as you deal with different challenges, you set up your challenges and then you try to deal with each advisor and get advice from them. So it sounds like a fascinating little cooperative game as you try to make the most out of bad situations with aid from different people, the variability that can provide, and then coming from Iron Game Design, who has a track record of putting out very thinky games, I am very intrigued in Sammu-Ramat, either as a co-op or as a solo game for myself. That's just a personal, what I'm interested in myself, whatever, but then from there we have Derrocar, which I don't know enough about Derrocar to talk competently about it. Overall, the mechanics didn't pull me in as much, just it didn't seem unique or different in any magical way. Nothing against it. I'm probably making it sound worse than I mean. I just mean it didn't pull me in past the theme. The game looked fine. There's a lot of games that look fine. The question always is, what is the magical pull there? So overall, these are 2 games from Iron Game Design, giving you both, variable options over here, not currently funding over on GameFound, and that is that. Next up in the not funding category, we have Altenor Secrets, and this one, unfortunately, I don't think will fund. This is a relaunch campaign. Now, for a relaunch campaign to be a third of the way through at this point is basically a death blow, unless something changes. Generally, there's a traction that certain campaigns can or will have in order to fund, but usually with relaunches, you want to see it funding even more importantly day one. Because with the relaunch campaign, you're bringing the people who are interested from the first time, and if you're still not seeing that traction, that means that even with that full cycle of all the people who are previously interested in the game, you're still not hitting it. And so I think a third of the way funding at this point, I do not think this will make it, unfortunately. I'm not going to heavily go into it because of that, but Altenor Secrets was already on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, they failed their funding goal. They're coming back. It's offering you a bit of a Labyrinth-like experience, although interestingly enough, this is not the only game today that has a Labyrinth-like experience with a changing little puzzle as you try to navigate the board. Giving you head-to-head combat in a Labyrinth-like experience. It's one of 2 games that has that today. Both of them seem to offer great miniatures and a board that, speaking for myself, doesn't pull me in. So a little bit of a spoiler to a different one coming up later that is funding, but either way, this is Altenor Secrets. The gameplay seems to be interesting, the miniatures look cool, but it doesn't seem to be pulling in people enough, so unfortunately I do not see this one funding. Speaking of which, we're going to move on to Obscure War, which only has 58 backers, unfortunately. Now, normally I wouldn't even talk about this one, but I did talk about this twice in terms of games and Kickstarters coming up. This one is really just not capturing people's attention, unfortunately. Again, same idea. They seem to have competent gameplay, miniatures that look amazing, and yet they aren't pulling people in. They aren't capturing their attention, unfortunately. I'm not going to heavily go into it because only 58 backers, but if you're interested, feel free to look into it further, and I'm surprised it doesn't have more. 57 backers. Do we lose a backer in the time I'm talking about it? Either way, unfortunately on this one, I'm expecting a relaunch at this point. We'll see how things play out over there. Which brings us to the updates category. Updates category, bear with me for 1 second here. The updates category, starting with Hanamikoji Geisha's Road. This is one where I actually just put up a video on Saturday talking about some of my favorite 2-player head-to-head experiences. I covered Geisha's Road in there, the original, so that's not true. I covered Hanamikoji in there, not Geisha's Road, because I don't have Geisha's Road, haven't played Geisha's Road, although you can bet I'll be getting my hands on it. If you want to check out that, you can check out that. This is basically just a last call on this game because I am, well, very, very much, I love this game. And so because of that, I'm talking about it and the fact that you have 61 hours to go, or by the time you watch it, you have like 8 hours to go, or whatever this is. But either way, you don't have a lot of time left. If you're interested in Hanamikoji, Geisha's Road, if you like two-player head-to-head cutthroat experiences, if you like the mechanic I cut you choose, or more specifically, if you don't like or haven't played the mechanic I cut you choose, Hanamikoji gives me the best implementation of that I've ever seen. So if you want to get that, and supposedly Tom Vassal on the Dice Tower talked about this recently when he's talking about convention attendance and opinions and all that, and he's talking about how it looked like Hanamikoji and Geisha's Road. General consensus is that you don't need both. The gameplay has enough overlap, you don't need both, and almost universally Geisha's Road was more widely received, which for me is great news because as long as it's a step up from Hanamikoji, then it's only going in the right direction because I already love Hanamikoji. And then for you, the relevance there is you may not want to actually pick up everything. There's a bundle over here for everything Hanamikoji that might be great, but you likely don't need all of that. Likely, and it hurts me to give this recommendation because likely it seems like Geisha's Road is the way you should go if you just want one thing and you don't want to spend too much money. The reason it hurts me to give that recommendation is it is so, like just last week I gave a recommendation for Orchard over Grove for that exact same logic. Get Orchard, which is the other way around. Get Grove, which is the better version of Orchard by all consensus. That was an easier recommendation to give for me because I hadn't played either yet and I was going by what people who had played both said. The reason it's much harder for me here is right now I'm giving a recommendation to get Geisha's Road over Hanamikoji, but I love Hanamikoji and I haven't played Geisha's Road, which means I'm giving a recommendation for a game I haven't played over the game I love and have played. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, but possibly not today. So it goes against everything I believe to recommend the game I haven't played. But I'm going to recommend the game I haven't played. Get your hands on Geisha's Road if you want just one of them. You likely do not need both of them. And also, Tom also talked about the various, the Action Tiles expansion 1 to 7. And he basically said, hey, they're nice, but they're like just giving you small variations of the gameplay. It's not significantly mixing up your experience and may not be worth picking them all up or even any of them up. It's up to you. Not bad, just not necessarily game-changing in a way that makes them a must-have by any means. So that's Everything Hanamikoji. Literally, that's the pledge level. It's called Everything Hanamikoji. A great game, highly recommended, but you might want to consider just Geisha's Road if you're trying to be economical as far as what you pick up. There are other games on this Kickstarter as well. I'm just referring to the scope of Hanamikoji at this point. Next up in the update category, we have Hegemony. Hegemony, lead your class to victory. This is one that when I first covered it, I said that I wanted to wait and see as far as different things being talked about, as far as the MSRPs, as far as what's included in the stretch goals, as far as what's making its way to retail. I didn't have enough information, and from what I saw on the original campaign, it looked like a wait till retail conversation, at least based on just not having enough information present. Because sure, they're giving you a discount, but then once you factor in the €20 shipping, that's just to the US, forget whatever else you're getting. That adds a lot. That's a price of a game. The price of a full game that you can get online right now is basically the shipping price. And it doesn't matter how much I like this game. Hegemony is a great game. Let me take back. I'm sidetracking and mixing up these stuff. My short opinion of Hegemony, just like a sidetrack there, is that it's a great game, although you should be very mindful of the accessibility issues because there's 4 unique factions. You're going to have to teach them. It's going to be a hard game to table. So I do recommend being mindful of that. You can check my review if you want all of that. I think it's a great game for groups that will persevere, for groups that will play this a lot. I think it's an amazing experience. Just that accessibility potential warning. Moving back to the aspect of should you get it or not, the Kickstarter pricing, once you factor in shipping, it doesn't actually end up being that much of a discount from the retail price that they said. And so the question is, all these stretch goals that they unlocked, and they unlocked a whole bunch of stretch goals because this game is doing really well, where are those stretch goals going? Are they going into your final copy? Are they going to retail? Are they not? How does that all play out? And then the various options, the various expansions that they unlocked in stretch goals as well. And so they posted this in an update a few days ago, so you can check out that full update if you want everything. The short version is that to begin with, they already had the pledge level over here that gave you the historical events. They said that's going to be an extra buy. So if you got in on the early bird, you already have a better buy then than anyone else because there's going to be like a $15 expansion that you are getting for free. But then secondly, the discounted price, what they basically came back with is they said the way they're handling it, at least as of right now, is all the component upgrades will make their way into the retail edition. Hold up, I'm going to get to it in a second. All the component upgrades will make their way into the retail edition of the game, but then the various add-ons, the autonomas, the solos, the mini expansions, all those will likely be bundled into a single solitary expansion that runs roughly, I think it was 28 or 28 euro, maybe something like that. I have to double check what the numbers were, but basically runs you around $30 for the expansion modules. And so the other thing though is because they are bundling all those upgrades into the retail edition of the game, they said the MSRP of the retail edition will be higher. They do not yet know what that ends up being. But the end price point of everything is if you get this game on the Kickstarter, and if you didn't get the early bird, you're going to be paying roughly $90 for everything. Roughly $90 including shipping if you're a US backer. I don't know the full numbers depending on your shipping region, all that internationally. And then the price point, the MSRP of everything, looks like it'll be roughly $120 to $130, making it a reasonable price point even once you do factor in shipping, now that we have that extra information. Or in other words, that makes this game either a decent back or a good back, depending on what the final MSRP ends up being, depending on the general availability, and then of course depending on whether you got that early bird, because then you're getting an additional $15 value on top of everything else. And so that's what we end up with Hegemony. It is a good to great back depending on a variety of factors, but that's a much better situation than it was the last time. Although of course, obviously if MSRPs change, if final prices change, that changes the whole conversation. I'm just going with what the information they gave us in this update over here. On this one over here, products for retail, heavy cardboard playthrough, and poll results. That title over there, check that out for more information. That's Hegemony, lead your class to victory. A great game, and apparently a decent or very good price point. Moving on to Resurgence, which we have the same exact problem. Resurgence was another game that I covered in the same video, and I said the same thing, that I don't yet know where this game lies as far as the price point and all that. Resurgence is a game I adore. It's a great game for Stan Kodansky. It's a game of trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic, I guess it's post-apocalyptic, a post-apocalyptic Russia over here. Here we go. Post-apocalyptic Moscow. You're trying to accomplish missions as your survivors try to survive, that makes sense, that your survivors do try to survive. Think Fallout the video game. Think that idea, that basic mindset in terms of the theme of the game, but the implementation being totally different. The implementation being a worker placement game with hidden worker placement and unique worker roles, and then trying to build up your base so it has tableau building mixed in, and then ultimately you're trying to accomplish a variety of different missions, but you have to get the resources for those missions, you have to go to specific spots. A very, very thinky, very, very puzzly, solid Eurogame for Stan Kodansky. But my love for the game aside, the question on the table last time and the question we're answering today is, should you get it, should you not, all that stuff. And to that end, I will move down to his own little, and they have unlock stretch goals, upgrades on that. They have wooden tokens up from cardboard tokens. They have the assignment boards, which would have been cardstock and are being cardboard instead. All those things. So there are a variety of upgrades. The question on the table always is, are those upgrades making their way into the retail edition of the game or not? And they also have the solo kit unlocked over here, as well as the encounters expansion, all of that over here that you get in the base game. Which brings us to the back now conversation, and we have a little bit more information, unfortunately not the same degree of clarity that I have on Hegemony, but a little better. So price point is $55 and off of $60, the final price, except once you factor in shipping, that is just not a good price in and of itself. The upgraded components is great, but unfortunately it's not clear on whether those upgraded components will make their way into a retail edition of the game, and as far as whether there will be a retail edition of the game, that goes back to the no guarantee of wide release. As of right now, there is not a retail edition planned. We have like a little over 1,000 backers on the game, and I think it's a great game, and I'm curious what it does down the road. I think it's going to be like Rurik in the sense that it's going to have a slow burn, a slow buzz. It is a game that people who play it will love it and like it, but Rurik has had a very slow, gradual process of being accepted and adopted and recommended because of that. So it doesn't have any massive campaign hype or anything that, or major pickup, wide retail release. So right now there is no retail conversation, which also means the upgraded components, we don't know if they'll make their way there. Then we have the expansion included and the unlock stretch goals. So where does that leave us? I think you should back this game if you are interested in the game and want to guarantee a copy, because there is genuinely no guarantee of wide retail release. If a retail release does show up, then the question on the table is, what's the difference between the Kickstarter and the retail? Will there be a difference at all? My expectation is that there will, between the included expansion and between the upgraded components, but again, it's not a guarantee. So ultimately where we'll leave off with Resurgence is, if there is no retail copy of the game, I expect this one to hold its value because it is a very good game and people will be tracking it down. Rurik has always held its value because it's a game that people want and seek out. Those who know about it are willing to pay the premium, and those who have it aren't giving it up so easily. I think Resurgence will fall into the same camp. On the other hand, on the off chance there is a wide retail availability, and if that wide retail availability comes with a already included pimped out deluxe game, then that is the risk you're running. So it is a little bit of a risk, a little bit unknown, but I do think that overall it will hold its value. I just think it's a good enough game, and I think there will be a slow, continuous buzz about the game. That is overall Resurgence, a risk, but that's up to you. I recommend backing it if you're interested, personally. But either way, moving on to the new campaign, starting with Twisted Fables, which arguably is an old campaign, but they're the new campaign. So, over on GameFound, we have the Twisted Fables Epic Collection. This is basically a selling out, the delivery before Christmas. You can see on the screen in front of you, it's delivery before Christmas because they're not making anything. This is basically hey, we have extra stock, we're going to sell it to you, and you'll get it before Christmas, which is totally fine. It's not the typical Kickstarter thing, but I don't care if it gets things into people's hands, people want it, people get it, whatever. By all means, you do you. This is coming from Dimension Games, who have done Deep Madness, Dawn and Madness, and then of course Twisted Fables. This is their basically, overstock stuff being sold over on GameFound. The main pledge level, the only real pledge level, is the 60, although it varies depending on which location you're in. They have North America, Asia, and Europe, but the North America pledge over here is going to run you $69 for, I have to remember to double check the pricing, I think it was roughly $65 worth of stuff if you bought it on the original Kickstarter. So basically they are hiking the price a bit, but not significantly. So if you missed the Kickstarter, it's not like, oh no, I missed the best price point ever, why should I get it? But also, if you did back the original Kickstarter, you did get it at a cheaper price, and obviously you have your game earlier as well. Twisted Fables is a game in which you basically have your true head-to-head game of Twisted Fables, where you basically have as a whole bunch of Fable characters. The artwork's gorgeous, the characters are amazing, and then it's basically these mythical Cinderella and Snow White and Red Riding Hood, all that stuff. I think like Tarzan wouldn't be in there because Tarzan's a guy and it's all women. I think Jane's in here. There's a whole bunch of characters in this game, and they're basically going head to head on one of those card rows, similar to games like Exceed, similar to games like Battle Line, similar to games like Flashpoint. Flashpoint? No. Flash Duel. Flashpoint is a very different game. Like Flash Duel. Like a variety of these games where you have a little card row and you're going back and forth trying to take out your opponent, trying to dance and dodge and maneuver yourself around the board. But it also has deck building. As you play the game, you are inherently deck building as you go, and then top decking different cards from, not top decking, that's a different term, taking cards from the top of your deck to try to slowly unlock your own individual upgrades, as well as the general supply pool of generic upgrades, all in an effort to build out the best deck that will most take out your opponent the most efficient way possible, and just basically slam them for tons of fun powers and ability combos, all that kind of stuff. That's Twisted Fables. It basically comes with this deluxe pledge is giving you everything all at once. Let's see what it's giving you over here. And currently it's ranked an 8.3 on Board Game Geek. Keep in mind, there's not enough ratings for that rating to be meaningful enough. What I would say is that rating means that it's generally well liked. As far as is it an 8.3, well, we'll need time to see where that ends up landing. Although you can check out, obviously they have the testimonials up here. Michael King, King of Average, Mammoth Meeple, Mark Street, and then individual playtesters over here. Not playtesters, I don't know, I said that. Board Game Geek reviewers or whatever. People, users reviewing the game. Speaking for myself, because I have played this game, I covered it on the original Kickstarter, I really enjoyed a lot of parts of it, while also wanting to see a bit more from the variety of the way you can build out your characters. It felt like a little bit too, not single lane, there's triple lane. There's three decks you can build out your characters from. It didn't have as much variance as I would have loved to see from the individual characters and how differently you can actually play them every single time, as opposed to going through a similar system. So I liked it, but a little bit held back from how much I liked it. As far as what you're getting over here, you're getting all of this over here, as well as these miniatures over here. So basically $69 gets you $100 of value, or more specifically $120 of value. Keep in mind that's obviously all MSRP values. That 100 to 120 is based on the fact that you're getting the miniature packs. So you're getting the base game, you're getting the Flood and Flame expansion, the 2 vs 2 upgrade kit, which allows you to play it, as you might imagine, as a 2 vs 2 game, and then the Dark Machinations expansion, as well as that you're getting the 2 miniature packs over here as well, bringing you to $120 value for a $69 pledge over there. As far as holding its value overall, it's still new because the thing has just landed, but so far the few sales we can see of this game does seem to indicate that it will hold its value, not by a huge amount, but if you get the game, if it's not for you, you should be able to sell it for roughly what you paid for. There are no guarantees because there's very limited data, but the limited data we do have does seem to indicate people are willing to pay to get their hands on this game, although those few people who overpaid now probably saw this campaign and were like, darn it, I could have gotten this game in like a few weeks extra and saved $30, whatever it is. So either way, hopefully they're happy. Maybe they're playing with their pledges already, I don't know, but that is overall everything Twisted Fables. Not entirely everything, because I just scrolled to the playmats, and remember that you can get a whole bunch of playmats. You don't need any playmats to play this game, but if you do want playmats, they have all the art from the game on these variety of playmats. They have duplicate playmats over here. Why do they have this over here? They have the same Little Mermaid playmat here and here. I must be missing something there. Don't get both of those, unless you want both of those, in which case get both of those. But they have more of them. Oh, these are different regions. So this is different regions, but those two are the same. Oh, no, it's all different regions. Okay, cool. All different regions. That's what's going on with the playmats. It's interesting how they're managing those pledges there. Either way, that is, at least at this point, everything Twisted Fables. Moving on to Karigar-e-Taj. I am probably saying that horribly incorrectly. I apologize. Karigar-e-Taj, Artisans of the Taj Mahal, 278 backers, a few days to go, $16,000 raised. This is a worker placement game of gathering the goods you need to ultimately build up the Taj Mahal. Basically a euro. It's a euro. That's what's going on. It's from a first-time creator. This is a decent attempt. That sounds so demeaning. I'm sorry. It's a decently run campaign for a first-time creator. Everything going on over there. But as far as overall pledge levels, let's talk about pledge levels. $35 for the basic game, $60 for the deluxe version of the game. The deluxe version of the game is actually giving you a decent amount of extras over here. You're getting the statue over here, a bunch of metal coins and all that, and then upgraded tokens as well. That's what you're getting for $25 extra, which is not bad. Very often the gold coins alone, the metal coins alone would run you that much, so overall that's not a bad price for the deluxe upgrade. Overall, I would say there's not a ton of adoption for this game. I think that's usually going back to the first creator part. He may well have created an amazing game, and the ratings on Board Game Geek from people who have played this game seem to be positive. Not a huge sample size, but that small sample size seems to be overall positive. But as a one-man show, there's only so much you can do. I think the art is going to not pull people in quite as much. It looks very, very dry as far as the game goes. That likely is a contributing factor to 278 backers. At the end of the day, we pay and we buy with our eyes, and that means miniatures sell, and amazing looking art and components sell. They do not make a game good, but they do sell things, and I think that is a limiting factor here. I do not think this one will hold its value overall. I think if you want this game with 278 backers, Kickstarter is going to be the way that you have to go, because you're not going to have an easy time tracking this down the secondhand market. There's just not enough copies that will be out there. But if you are getting this game and you want to know if it'll hold its value, then I wouldn't recommend it, because that same logic applies. The same logic that has only 278 people looking at this and backing it and picking it up likely means that in the secondhand market you'll have the same problem. You will not have a large pool of people who are willing to jump down and get this game. So I think it's one that you likely will sell at a loss if it ends up being a game that is not for you. Moving on, we have Call to Adventure Epic Origins, $400,000 raised, 5,600 backers, 5 days to go. This is from Brotherwise Games, and this is the standalone, very important to say that, this is the standalone version of Call to Adventure, although it is combinable with the original. So you do not need the original game to play, but if you have the original, you can combine stuff and get all those things and fun and all that stuff. And Call to Adventure, a few things going on here. Let's cover a basic overview first. Call to Adventure is a game of building out your character, your backstory, the things that contributed to who you are, all those things. It can be used as a game experience in and of itself, or it can genuinely be used to create your own little D&D character and then build your stats out at the end. So you can use it both ways, and they've actually added that to the game. We'll talk about that in the new stuff in a few minutes. But basically, Call to Adventures is a game of choosing your stats and then going on adventures and then getting runes and adding to your stats and flipping runes to accomplish different things. It is a little bit about choosing your stats as you go through things, and then a little bit about the luck of literally just trying to make attempts with these runes and trying to proceed down different pathways and then ultimately take down the face your adversary and fulfill your destiny. So it's a lighter game in its experience, but it's a thematic game. It's a game for those who want to experience the pathways and journeys of who you are. Keep in mind, I'm referring more to the original Call to Adventure as of right now, not yet what the new one adds, because it does add some new things. So let's talk about the new one adds before we talk about pledge levels and their stretch goals and all those stuff. But let's see what we have over here. Here we go. Here's the new stuff. Nope, that's not the new stuff. Let's go down. Let's go down to the new stuff. What's new? Okay. So, if you are a Call to Adventure player and you want to know what this one adds to the genre, first of all, we have heritage cards that will allow you to play as certain fantasy races with powers that, specific powers and things, so it gives you all of that. We have class cards that give you new powers when you level up. We have cards that will unlock a new solo co-op campaign, so this gives you more of a reason to dive into it again and again, more of a, not just a, hey, let's play again, but you're actually going through a bit of a campaign as you go through it. And then we have a double-sided adversary cards giving you a greater threat on adversaries, and finally we have a 5e compatible conversion guide, which is basically a way of actually turning your genuine character into your 5e character if you want. It's a fun way to do things. I don't know if it's an efficient way to do things, but I'm also not a D&D player or an RPG player at all, so I'm just talking about it and I don't have any significant opinion on that side. Which brings us to pledge levels. Pledge levels is going to be a few options over here. Scroll back up over here. We have $40 for the basic pledge over here. I generally don't recommend that over there because If you're going to get that pledge, just wait till retail, where you'll be able to get it for $27 for the game. This does have the Kickstarter extras as well, although nothing here is exclusive. It's worth pointing that out. Nothing here is exclusive. They said it very clearly. There's anything that over here, for example, this deluxe box over here, will be available at conventions and or on the website. They've otherwise said that they both respect the idea of having Kickstarter be a place where you can, get extras, but also they don't want things to be exclusive to people who might discover the game a year from now. And so they're taking that halfway approach of selling things on the website or at conventions, giving the availability, but not making it easily available or widely available, and that usually comes with a higher price point as well, although that's not a guarantee. But that's the $60 pledge is going to give you the deluxe game with custom card sleeves, the deluxe box, everything, a little bit premium, whatnot, and there are some stretch goals and upgrades that are specific for the deluxe pledge, so pay attention to those. Then we have the Epic Hero, which is going to give you the premium accessories, plus a neoprene playmat, and a premium foam insert from Folded Space. Folded Space makes great inserts, so you're getting that. For an extra $35, you're getting the playmat and an insert, which is not a bad price if you want both of those. If you want one of those, then it's not a great price. If you want both of those, that is a great price. Then from there we have the Chosen One, that gives you a complete collection for everything, the Name of the Wind, the Stormlight Archive, all the stuff you might possibly want. Which brings us to the stretch goals. You can take a look over here, both what you're unlocking in general, as well as what you're getting in the specific Kickstarter Epic Origins Edition. And we have the Forgotten Feats, a 6th limited edition hero and anti-hero cards updated for co-op play, only on Kickstarter. So this one seems to be only on Kickstarter, which I'm not certain what that means, because in the FAQ they said nothing was going to be actually exclusive, but then they have this saying only on Kickstarter, which seems to be a bit contradictory. So that's the one part here which I'm not 100% sure what the end result is. I think it means only on Kickstarter, so there might be 6 limited edition cards over there that you can get your hands on. And then these things are still being unlocked. We're close to the ending over here, but that's basically everything going on Call to Adventure. Which brings us back to those pledge levels. $40, which does come with Kickstarter extras, so you could get the retail version of the game, but you won't get those extras, so it's balanced there. Do you want to pay the extra $15 to $25 once you factor in shipping to get the game on Kickstarter, or do you not care? You'll save the money, but you won't get some of those extras. That's a decision you have to make for yourself. As far as will it hold its value, it might. I'm skeptical it will over there, but hold up 1 second. Let's go to the next one. The Hero Deluxe game over here. I think this $60 one is more likely to hold its value for the more premium option there. Basically, people who want the game likely don't just want a few extra cards, a few extras. They likely want, if you're going to be seeking down and trying to buy the Kickstarter version of Call to Adventure, you probably want the main stuff, all the stuff. Now, that could include the neoprene mat and the insert as well. That's usually another threshold. It's a little more of a check question of whether people want that. I would say the one most likely to hold its value is the Hero Deluxe game over here. It's not a guarantee. Call to Adventure is both a well-liked game, but also not one that has, it has a decent audience, a decent fan base, but it's also a lighter experience, and lighter experiences generally have a harder time holding their value, just the way the market tends to work. So overall, I think it'll hold its value, the $60 option. I'm not confident it will hold its value. Again, this is all a tangent to the fact that you should be getting the game for yourself. You should be getting the game because you want the game. All these conversations, and I don't remind people enough about this, I don't buy games to resell. I buy games because I want them, and then if they're not for me, I have the comfort of knowing that I can get most or all, or sometimes more, of my money back on those games. So if you're buying them to resell, this is not the right series for you. You should be getting only Command games and call it a day. Other games too, but that's the idea. Versus if you buy the game for yourself and find out it's not for you, that's when these conversations and questions come into play. I do these videos every single week, and I forget often that I'm not always talking to the same people who watch me every week. Sometimes I'm talking to new people, and then they just hear, hold this value, and they're like, I buy games to play, Board Game Co. You're a cold, heartless person. I'm like, no. I play games. I play a lot of games, and I buy a lot of games with the comfort of knowing that I'm not actually just tossing money out left, right, and center. This was an weird tangent. I don't know why it came up now all of a sudden. Either way, moving on to The Spirit of Eden by Alone Editions. Alone Editions, who brought you The Road and Samurai, I believe it was. I think that was the other one. They have a few games from the belt. It's basically, what's the guy's name? Yusuf, I believe. The games, Yosef Ari, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, from Alone Games, who's brought a bunch of prior games. He has a large French following as well as a smaller US following, but that's also going to be evident by, I think the FAQ is all in French. Over here, the FAQ is like all in French over here, so that's just goes to that. The page itself has English and French editions of everything going on, but basically we have a conqueror coming, here we are. We have King Osmoth, who's holds countless lands, is trying to send Gooms to invade Eden, but Noah is a spirit who's going to be using their allies to defend it. This is a solo experience, typical for what Alone Games has done in the past, between The Road, which is incredibly well rated, and Samurai, which I don't know the ratings on that one, but Eden, The Spirit of Eden, is his next solo game currently on Kickstarter. Pledge levels are €16 plus shipping for the base copy of the game, and then you can get more copies, or you can get other games as well. I think there are other games. There was an option over here to get the Road. Here we go. The Spirit of the Eden plus the Road over here. As far as will it hold its value, will it's not. Same conversation I just had a minute ago, same idea. As far as hold its value, will it not. The Road actually surprisingly has held its value in the secondhand market. I say surprisingly because usually smaller box games don't. Will this one hold its value? I don't know for sure. The price point is cheap enough, and the amount you'll likely lose is cheap enough. I would walk into this expecting that you might lose $5-10. It's not a huge amount of money, but that may or may not be enough to tempt you into getting or into not getting this game. He makes well-rated games generally. Whether this one will join those ranks or not is a question and uncertain over there. Moving on to 3 new Valeria Universe games. The Valeria Universe, which started with Card Kingdoms, I want to say, and has had both some incredible games and some not-so-incredible games at the same time. Speaking for myself, my favorite is still Card Kingdoms of Valeria. That is the one that has stayed and lasted. Margraves of Valeria I like just as much as Card Kingdoms, but it's actually a heavier game, and usually with heavier games, I have other games I like more. So Margraves, despite being really, really good, is the one that I eventually got rid of. Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria is one that I still own and still really enjoy. Overall, I'm getting on a tangent here. The Valeria Universe has art by the Micho, which I love. It has the Valeria Universe, which I've generally liked or enjoyed. Some have lasted, some have not. And this is bringing you 3 new ones: Thrones of Valeria, Dice Kingdoms of Valeria, and Siege of Valeria. One is a tower defense game, one is a roll and write, and one is a trick-taking game. Although, of course, they have their own spins or stuff or things going on. 823 backers, $46,000 raised. Let's talk about those games for a minute over here. We have Dice Kingdoms of Valeria, which is a dice rolling game. And one of the things I like about it, I don't know a ton about all the gameplay here, but you're going to be rolling 6 dice every round. 2 are going to activate the various citizens. So it seems to be holding that original concept of Card Kingdoms of Valeria. Meanwhile, the 4 will go towards the individual players to use as they want. In other words, 2 dice everyone's utilizing and benefiting from together, similar to the original Card Kingdoms of Valeria, which is, like I said, my favorite one, the one that's lasted and the one that I haven't played in way too long and I need to play it. But then the other dice go to you building out your own tableau, getting more citizens, doing all of that. I like roll and rights. I like Valeria. I'm definitely interested in this one. Obviously understand that different things here are placeholder art or not. So for example, this board has been Michified. Is that the term? I think that's a technical term. This board has not been Michified. So you can take that into account. Not everything you see here is done. That's true for all these games. There's a lot of placeholder art going on. Factor that in before you're like, ooh, that's not a game I want. I understand that. It's not a game I want either, and it won't be the game you get. That is that one. Throne of Valeria, what's it called? What's it called again? It's called the Dice Kingdoms of Valeria. So like Card Kingdoms of Valeria. Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like the original game was called Card Kingdoms. This is called Dice Kingdoms. So they're trying to make it feel a little similar. Moving on from there, we have Siege of Valeria by Glenn Flaherty. This is basically the tower defense one over here. This is one where you're going to be trying to... and each of these, by the way, it's worth noting, each of these comes with their own little extra, their backer bonus. And this one gives you a campaign extension. The win or lose, each effect affects the next battle. So a little bit of a campaign thing going on in this one, although each one has their own little surprise or extra as far as getting on a Kickstarter, which is important because if it's price alone, you should definitely be hunting it down at retail. But there's extras, so that. But over here, yeah, this is a tower defense style game as you try to recruit people and take down the baddies and then deal with this over here. We have a backer bonus. After you've honed your skills to the base game, take on the challenge of the Siege of Valeria campaign. This 68 card expansion. It's not a small expansion. 68 card expansion adds dukes to lead your fortress, monsterkin, and all that stuff, things over there. So that's going on with this one over here. And then lastly, we have Thrones of Valeria, which is a trick-taking game. And trick-taking historically has not worked well for me with very few exceptions. The crew being like the very few exceptions I'm talking about. But most trick-taking games have not worked for me. It's not a mechanic I like, and even though they've been gamified to a degree, I generally don't love them even there, although I'm gonna try on this one, because why not? But over here, this is the Thrones of Valeria. The gameplay here I don't know a lot about, past the idea that it seems like there's a changing market of the value of your different tricks. That there's a little kind of a, this table in the middle that will define the value of your tricks, so your hand will be changing as you play. I think I got that right. This is the one that I know the least about over here, so I may have gotten that wrong. And then the backer bonus is the one that I saw that I was the least interested in when I first saw it, and then became the most interested in when I actually saw it. I saw over here a standard deck of playing cards is the backer bonus. And I'm like, a standard deck of playing cards? Every time I've ever gotten one of those in any game, they go into a shelf somewhere, and then a year and a half later, when I realize I'm holding onto a deck of cards I'm not using, it gets gifted or thrown away or something. That's what happens every single time. And then I saw the cards, because the Micho is creating a set of playing cards over here with his typical style going on, but more abstracted. So these are the cards of the actual game, which I love the idea of the Mitchell's artwork being like toned down to a degree, which I love it. I'm very intrigued. And then a deck of playing cards with art from the Mitchell. It likely will still go into a closet and not be used for 2 years, but it will not be thrown out at the end because I love the Mitchell's artwork and I like seeing it on decks of cards. So maybe I'll just play War or Spit with my kids and something. Maybe Solitaire, and I have better games than Solitaire. Who am I kidding? It likely won't be used, but at least it'll look cool. I'll do magic tricks with them. I do magic tricks. I used to do magic tricks once upon a time. But either way, that is the set of cards over here, the set of stuff. So, should you back it, should you not? General conversation with the Valeria Games has not changed ever since I've been covering them. Generally, their price point is not the best if you factor in price point alone. If you just want the cheapest price, go ahead and get it at retail. On the other hand, if you want the extras that come with the games, that's when the price point is more worth it, because otherwise those extras will run you extra money on their website or tracking it down or something. So if you want the extras, generally I do recommend Kickstarter, although with the caveat that their games definitely have a mixed bag as far as holding their value. Some have held their value just fine. Margrave's held its value for a while. Shadow Kingdoms has held its value so far because it's getting good ratings and all that. But some of their games have not held their value depending on how well they've received. So this one falls squarely in the it's a risk category. If the games are well received, if they're well liked, if Throne of Valeria is amazing, if Dice Kings of Valeria is amazing, if Siege of Valeria is amazing, pick whatever one they are. If they are well liked and well rated, then generally those extras that will hold their value. But otherwise, they won't. So it falls in the category of it being a risk. Speaking for myself, it's a risk I keep taking because I find them all charming, even though I don't keep all of them. That is basically the 3 new Valeria Universe games, which brings us to the next one, which is Mindbug First Contact. Mindbug First Contact, designed by Richard Garfield from a new publishing company, from Marvin Higgin. I don't know what the name of the company is called. But either way, 3,483 backers, $123,000 raised. This is already out, by the way. This is a Kickstarter for a game that's kind of already out. I saw that Tom from the Dice Tower already reviewed the game. You should check that out. And it's basically trying to abstract the fun of trading card games into a single pack. No collectible stuff, none of that thing's going on. And they have 2 things that are worth knowing because, at least for myself, they very much speak to my interest in the game. The first, they tried to make everything powerful. Every card is supposed to be game-breaking in some way and powerful and doing something fun. The artwork looks amazingly cartoonish and delightful. I don't actually like that main card over here on the box. I don't like that, but if you look at the individual, watch the video. It's a great video for the campaign. But if you look at the individual card art, overall, really speaks to me, and then combine that with powers and abilities that just seem overpowered, I like that. I like it when everything's broken. And then, here's the catch. The Mindbug. Every player gets 2 Mindbugs, okay? The Mindbugs are basically an opportunity you have these cards that are set in front of you, and at any point when a player does something, you could say, nah, I'm taking that and I'm doing the thing. You basically take their move, which means the game becomes a constant bluffing game of, is this the best thing I'm about to do? The thing that's really going to hurt you? The thing that you need to Mindbug and stop me? Or am I just trying to tempt you, and really the next thing is the best thing, and you don't know when to play your Mindbug, when is the right and pivotal time to play your 2 Mindbugs. So it has a degree of tension, of bluffing, of possibly playing your best move early on, knowing full well that the other player will not counter with his Mindbug because he thinks the more stuff's coming, and then you go ahead and mess with them. So overall, I love the concept, I love the idea, I love powers and abilities, I love the cartoony stuff. Overall, Tom Vassell seemed to enjoy it. It got a Dice Tower seal of approval, not excellent, seal of approval, but that could go either way. Very intrigued, and I think of it as a lighter, fun game. I don't think of this as a heavy game. I think of this as a, hey, you want to play that quick little fun game, and we'll see how things go. And that rating, by the way, that 8.4 rating, that one, I do recommend checking them out. There's a lot of ratings for the game, and by filtering through them, there's a lot of ratings from people who rate a lot of games, and they rated this one very positively. Yes, there are definitely ratings from people who only rated this one game. I usually ignore those, but there seems to be a decent amount of people who have tried this game, who've liked this game. I believe it's available online, if I'm not mistaken, to play it, to try it out over there, so that is everything going on. Also, I love the fact that they're basically taking the stance of, where is it? They have a first contact, come get some, where is it? They basically are treating you, here we go, listen to my orders, Earthling. That same idea that the Mindbug takes control of the other player's play, they're doing that over here to try to convince you to back the game too. You have the feeling that this is a very good game. I do, honestly. Your video kind of convinced me. Then we keep scrolling down, and you have the strong urge to lead the Mindbug's creatures to battle. I do. You got me there too. But then, because we're not all good news here, we have, scrolling down, more stretch goals, more things, cards revealed, down to over here, here, I'm scrolling down, we'll get to the puzzle in a second. You feel released to make a free decision. this time. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Let's keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Where's the last thing? I'm waiting for the last thing. Why back now? Let's cover the why back now. Earliest delivery. This is the earliest opportunity to get your hands on Mindbug. That might be a good reason for you. Usually it's not a good reason for me. I have plenty of games. I can play all the other games while I wait for this one. Additional creatures. With your help, we'll unlock new creatures and cards for the upgrade pack. Although the upgrade pack does not seem to be Kickstarter exclusive, you're just building the upgrade pack, but it's going to be available at retail too. Limited edition. The Kickstarter box is limited number, limited whatever over there. That's just a box. If you value limited boxes, by all means, get that. Not a thing I care about. Become part of the journey. Your input matters. We are a new publisher. Build this game, build the Mindbug universe, all that stuff. You think these are good reasons to back this project? So I'm going to throw a question mark on the end of that. You think these are good reasons to back this project? It might be. It might be for you. I don't know. Price point of this one does have me skeptical that this is the best price point to jump in. $29 for a handful of cards. I think this will be cheaper at retail, even with the upgrade pack. It's not a guarantee. I did not see anything on the retail pricing on the game. Ultimately, where I am on Mindbug also has me unsure if I'm backing it myself. I'm very interested in the game, to be very clear. I don't yet know if I'll back it because the price point, I'm not confident will be the best price point, but also we're talking about a matter of dollars here. We're talking about, I'll spend $29 plus shipping and maybe it'll be like $7 cheaper at retail. So it's not a lot of money either way. I might get it. I don't yet know. I'll probably try to track it down the road. Whether or not I get it on Kickstarter is a question. I'm skeptical that this is the best price point. I'm skeptical this will hold its value, even as I am very interested in the game itself. But you can wait for retail availability, and with this many backers, with 3,484 backers, you can bet there's going to be retail availability on this game where you can get all that stuff, and you don't care about the numbered box. Maybe you do care. Let me try the Mindbug. You don't care about the numbered box. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. But that is Mindbug. Looks cool, looks fun, not confident on the price point. Next up, we have Pathfinder Arena. 983 backers, $154,000 raised, 15 days to go. This is Pathfinder, Pathfinder from Paizo, the card game. Is it from Paizo? I don't even know if this is from Paizo. Maybe it's not, because I don't see Paizo anywhere on this game thing over here. Pathfinder, let's just go back to the start. We're going to start this again. Pathfinder Arena, the card game, $154,000 raised, 981 backers, 15 days to go. This is Pathfinder if it was like a arena kind of board. And this is the game I was talking about earlier when I referred to the Labyrinth style board game, because you have your characters, you have your miniatures, you have all that stuff going on over there, and then you have your board where you're going to be slotting around. And I recommend watching the video. Video gives you a good taste of everything. Let's see if we can scroll down more to gameplay. Not much. Here's the board. This is the board over here. This is a Labyrinth style board where you're pushing things in and navigating and manipulating the board. You're going to be fighting off against various heroes as well as the Minotaur or the dungeon or whatever it is. This is a competitive game. Even though the original Pathfinder was a cooperative game, this is a competitive game instead. As far as extras and exclusives, they do have some of those. If you go through the stretch goals, you can see some other things that are exclusive, like the bonus monster red dragon, which comes with the miniature. We have the bonus monster Onidisha Dodoshi. We have the bonus monster ghoul. So you can scroll through these. More things will be unlocked as we go. But yes, there are exclusives on this campaign, and that's important because the price point is not cheap at all. We have the Adventurer Pledge for €100 plus shipping, and shipping is a monstrous €30 just to the US. Let's see if we can scroll down to that table over there. Here we go. Is it 30? I think it was 30. Yeah, €35 to the US, €25 to Italy, or 27 to China and Czech Republic. So you're looking at anywhere between 25 and like 40, 50, €60. Oh my gosh, it could be a lot of money to get this game on the shipping alone. That's because of the big box factor. But that adds up because the base pledge for the game is €100 for the base pledge over here, $114 plus your €35. That's the base pledge. You're looking at $160, $170 for this game, which is a hard ask to, ask. From there, we have the €140 pledge, which will give you the Heroes expansion and the Monsters expansion. Then we have the Masters pledge, which will give you the Heroes, the Monsters, the Trap Tiles, and the Ages of expansion. We can see all of those if we scroll up to the pledge levels somewhere over here. Here we go. Here we go, here's all the stuff. We have the optional buys, the Age of Ashes expansion, we have the Heroes expansion, we have the Monsters expansion. You can get these all separately individually, or you can get them and then we have the Trap Tiles, you can get them all separately, or you can get them as part of various pledge levels for the game. As far as will it hold its value, will it not, should you get it? So as a starting baseline, like I said already, there are exclusives. You want those exclusives, then you can get it over here because your only option otherwise is the secondhand market. Which brings us to will it hold its value? I don't yet know, frankly. I'm skeptical it will, but the price point, we don't have information on the price point. I haven't seen the price point listed anywhere as far as what the MSRP will be, what it'll cost at retail. So the prices are expensive here, and for sure once you factor in shipping, you're looking at anywhere between $160 to like $250 or more for this game to get all the stuff here, which might be amazing, but we don't yet have enough information about how the game plays, what makes it stand out, that will make it an amazing basically, the short version is that when a game asks for a lot of money, there usually has to be a reason why you're willing to pay that money. It could be a ton of components. It could be a track record of producing certain games. It could be a track record of holding its value. Or it could be amazing gameplay. This may well be amazing gameplay. There's plenty of content you can watch to see if this game speaks to you. For me, the Labyrinth style puzzle and whatnot, it might be good. I just don't know if it's $170 good or not. Overall, this is not one where I'm saying it won't hold its value. There are exclusives, which is always a good reason to hold its value. And the Pathfinder game has had a wide availability, a wide release, which means that a lot of people out there that may want to see the next evolution of Pathfinder and may want to hunt down and track down a copy at some point in some way. So it's entirely possible to hold its value. Also, I fall in the camp of being just not nearly sure enough to say it will. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's a risk. It definitely falls under the risk category of things over here. And that is Pathfinder Arena, which leaves us with one more, which is the Stephen Rhodes Games Volume 2. This is Volume 2, as you might imagine. There was a Volume 1. This is from Cryptozoic Games, and this is a set of 3 games featuring the art of Stephen Rhodes turned into sets of games. The prior 3 games were already released. They're already arrived. They're already been reviewed. You can check out the Dice Tower. I think they have reviews of all 3 of them, or other channels too. I don't actually know who has reviews. I just know the Dice Tower did. But either way, that is these games. I think some of them were decently received, some of them less so. So factor that into your own buying decisions here as well. As far as the 3 games you have here, we have 3 games. We have Cryptozoology for beginners, which is a bit of a drafting kind of set collection style game where you draft a set of general goals that you keep one for yourself and you put one publicly on the table. Then you draft the actual cards, and then you go back and forth playing the cards to mess with everyone and hopefully end up with things that best fulfill the goals and score you the most points. Then we have Living Well is the Best Revenge, which is a game of you're going to be stacking your cards in your hand and rolling dice to try to get through and unlock your cards and powers and abilities. Basically a bit of a rolling dice and going through your cards one at a time to ultimately be the last person standing, the winner. Then we have Let's Call The Exorcist, which is going to be the hidden roll game of the group here. You're going to have a bunch of sets of cards over here, and you're going to have different players who are possessed or innocent as you go around trying to deduce which team is on which, and then ultimately whichever team it is trying to win themselves between the artifacts, between the abilities, and between deducing who is who in The Exorcist. Now, that's a quick overview of those 3 games, and then brings us to the pledge levels. Pledge levels over here. We have a bunch of pledge levels on the side. We have just one for, as you might imagine, just one of the games. We have double play, which is, as you might imagine, for 2 of the games. And then we have all of them for $55 for the games. And then the shipping, unfortunately, is higher than we'd like to see normally because things have slowly been going up. A single game is going to run you $15. Triple Threat is not that much more for $16 over there. But again, that's just the way of the world. Freight is getting more expensive. For shipping prices are picking up and all of that. As far as should you get it, will it hold its value or not? Surprisingly, actually more so than I would have thought. But that's more on eBay, on the secondhand market on eBay. This is one that, because it's based on the art of Stephen Rhodes, it's falling less into the board game crowd as far as general holding its value there. The original campaign got like 4,000 backers, by the way, and this one currently at 1,600, still growing, still seeing how things continue. But over on Board Game Geek, there's like no sales yet of these games. There's not a lot of activity going on. But if you check out eBay, the original 3 games did sell for more than people paid for them. That may well hold true for this as well, although factor in those were all new. I only found sales of new games, not used games, which is more common. Once you break out of the typical board game crowd, you do move a little bit more into collectors and being a little less comfortable with used. So while I do think that this will hold its value, at least based on the original, I'm not quite as confident if you open it, if you break it out, and you now have a used copy, because the eBay nature tends to be a little bit more less friendly to used games, it likely will take a bit of a hit there. One last thing worth noting is if you want the Kickstarter exclusives from the original 3, because you could buy the original 3 on the website right now, on Cryptozoic's website, or on eBay, or whatever, but if you get the retail versions of the game and you want the Kickstarter extras, you could actually get the extras on this campaign, that's just the Kickstarter exclusives from the original, over on this campaign as well. So that's an option if you want that. But again, quick summary is, it may well hold its value, but especially if you're going to open it and play it, it might take a hit on the value, so a bit of a risk there with this copy of games. And that is everything. 52 minutes, not too bad, not too shabby, a lot more than I would have thought, given the fact that we are currently entering very much a dry spell of Kickstarter. Money will be saved over the next few weeks. Not saying there won't be anything, there's definitely going to be things, but you will save some money as there are just less stuff to back, practically speaking. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always... Oh wait, no, Picks of the Week! Picks of the Week! I completely forgot. My gosh, wow, it's been way too long. So, first of all, just a quick reminder to head on over to Quackalope and, do this thing over here where you tell me you really want to see a Game of Thrones Catan gameplay. Past that Picks of the Week, and you're going to watch me figure this out on the spot because I didn't plan for this week. Nope. Okay, personal pick of the week is personal pick of the week is a tie between Valeria Universe Games and the Mindbug. And personal pick is usually just what I'm most interested in, forgetting anything to do with value or not. But I think I will choose the Valeria Universe Games. While I'm not excited at all about the trick-taking game, I like the call to the original card kingdoms with dice kingdoms, and I liked how it defends, and I'm curious to see how it plays out and how it's developed and where we ultimately end up. So I'm going to go with my personal pick of the week being the Valeria Universe series of card games. As far as holding its value, I'm not going to pick those. Nope. Oh my gosh, this is a hard one. As far as holding its value, I will actually go with the Twisted Fables Epic Edition. And it's not a great value pick. To be very clear, the value pick of the week is one where I think it is the one that's most likely to hold its value. And I'm specific. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to pick Hegemony. Hegemony is what I'm going to pick over here. Usually I don't pick past picks in terms of games that are the most likely to hold their value. Usually I pick the current new stuff. In the case of Hegemony, I'm going to, only because I excluded it last time because I wasn't yet confident. So I'm counting it as new for that sake. I think Hegemony is the one I'll pick as my value pick of the week, the one most likely to hold its value, especially and for sure if you are an early bird pledger. Although understand and factor in that if you don't care about like some of the extras, that's a different conversation. If you don't care about the Autonoma, the extra add-ons or whatever it is, then you might be able to get the base game alone cheaper at retail. But if you look at the whole package, this is the one where I think it's most likely to hold its value overall. And that is everything. Fortunately, I did not miss the picks of the week. Almost did. But either way, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and have a good one. That was a close catch there. Almost forgot. Ignore my bright orange shirt, by the way. This is my only clothing purchase on Black Friday. Usually I get a bunch of clothing purchases, but this time around I don't need new clothes right now, so I didn't get a lot. I tried this shirt on and put it back on the shelf, and my wife's like, "Oh, you're not getting anything?" And I was like, "I got this. This is one orange shirt," and she's like, "I want to see it," and so I put it on, and she's like, I want you to get that," and so I got the orange shirt. It's very orange. My son loves orange. He saw the shirt. He gave me a giant hug. I don't know how I'm going into this. This wasn't planned. I just realized how big and orange I looked when I made myself full screen again. Didn't realize at the beginning of the video quite as much, but I did realize now. But here's where we are. Here's where I'd like your help, okay? Over the next 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, there's going to be fewer to-back or not-to-backs. We just have less Kickstarters happening. If I had to guess, I would say next week we won't have one. The week after we will. The week after we won't. The week after we will. Meaning I think we're going to alternate weeks, but it's possible I won't even have enough to alternate weeks. So, what do I want from you? If you're able to, or if you have good ideas, or if you have things you'd like to see, let me know. Generally, I save Monday for Kickstarter related, so it has to be something Kickstarter related. Maybe it's the top 10 Kickstarters I regret backing. I don't know. I think I've done that before. But if you have some sort of idea of either 10 Kickstarters, and it doesn't have to be 10, it could just be top this, top that, but some sort of list around Kickstarter games, past, present, future, whatever they are, I'd love to see it. Likely one of them towards the end of the month, towards the end of December, will likely be the Kickstarters, my favorite Kickstarter games from 2021. That will likely be the favorite Kickstarter campaigns in 2021. So I'll likely do that towards the last week of December. But if you have any ideas, I'd love to see them, because if they're good ideas, I will use them and do a video on them. That's basically it. In any case, have a good one.